All right, and welcome to Psych for Graduate School. I'm Ryan Martin, chair of the psychology program here at UW Green Bay.
And I'm Kate Burns. I'm chair of human development and also a member of the psychology faculty.
All right, and so today we've got kind of a different format for our first episode of the season. I have been asking alumni who are currently in graduate school for advice, or what things would you tell students? This is going to be advice for when you get to graduate school. So what's it like, that sort of thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read, I'm paraphrasing some stuff. I'm just going to read some things that they said, and then we're going to take a couple minutes to reflect on it. So, first thing, and I heard some of these comments from lots and lots of different students. So, first things first, one student said, and other students seem to agree, academically, grad school isn't harder than undergrad. It just requires more deep thought and more time devoted to it. And then said, don't put the 20-page paper off until the last minute. So, what do you think?
You shouldn't do that for undergrad either. It would be my first piece of advice, but I agree that I think sometimes people think that, well, grad school, right, it must be harder because it's kind of that next level, and it's not that it's harder, it's just, it's a lot more on you for scheduling and figuring all those things out and kind of organizing your time.
Right, and I actually thought, one of the ways in which it was, I don't know if this makes it easier, but one of the things that was different for me was that every class I took was something that I was deeply fascinated in, right? I didn't feel like I was, and that isn't a criticism of gen ed or anything like that, but it didn't feel like I was ever taking something that I wasn't interested and excited about, and that I may be unusual in that way, and so that way it was, you're right, it was, there was a lot more I had a lot more energy for some of those things. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And this student, I thought this was really interesting, said, you're treated more like a peer than a student, which can be intimidating sometimes. And she felt like she was scared to ask questions at first, but don't be.
So I would agree, yeah. I think that, you kind of know the system here at uwgb, and you'll then move to this new environment, and there's going to be, every school is different, right? So now you have to learn, like, what am I going to do at this new school? And you're just going to have tons of questions, but that's okay, right? That's just part of the process.
Right, and then norms are going to be different and things like that. Very good, all right. Get ready to exercise those amazing writing skills you developed at UWGB. I was particularly fond of that one. What do you think?
Yeah, writing is so important. With writing, it's all about practice, right? So just keeping on practicing, writing those multiple drafts. I know no one likes to, but that's really the way to get your writing better and better.
Right. And that was one of the things that when it goes back to sort of the, is it harder or is it less hard than undergrad, that one way in which it was more demanding was that I wrote a ton more in graduate school than I did in undergrad. And so that is definitely something to be prepared for. Try new things, take chances, get involved in activities, and jump into opportunities. This person said they thought they were completely aware of what they liked in terms of sort of population, what they were interested in, and then they discovered that their perspectives are changed still. Was that your experience?
It's a great time to test things out, right? So before you get into that work world and decide, I want to do this research, I want to work with these clients, why not try out different things? So it definitely pays to say yes and to see where those opportunities are going to go.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important, especially I would add too, like the student, I thought I knew what I wanted to do when I went to graduate school, and it changed, right? And it changed over
me too, yeah.
So I think that, it seems like that's pretty common. We have an N of 3.
There we go.
That was 3.
Set.
So, yeah, 100%. I think 3 data points, isn't that?
I learned that in grad school.
Yeah, that's all you need?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Imposter syndrome. How would you define imposter syndrome?
I think there's always that time, right, in talking to people. Usually it's the not talking to people, that's where you find it, and that you just feel like you don't, why did you get accepted? You're not really supposed to be there, you don't have the skills, you just can't make it. And people tend to not share that with other people because then they're worried that then everyone will then call them out and say, you shouldn't be here, but everyone is feeling that way, and that's just natural.
Yeah, I remember it took me a very long time to really get a feel for, to actually feel secure and feel like, nope, I belong here. And even, I kind of went back and forth because I tried to tell myself, well, they wouldn't have accepted me if I wasn't good enough. But then at the same time felt like, well, what if they were wrong, right? what if they made a mistake? And it took a long time to really feel confident, like I belong there. So. But you're right, I get the sense, that's been the story for almost every person I've talked to. Last thing, I guess, kind of goes back to the first one. The student said, be organized. There's lots of free time, and they put free time in quotes, that isn't really free, that there's always stuff you should be doing. Is that your experience as well?
And that is so true. I feel like this is the kind of the best advice, in that, yeah, you have all this time, or you're not taking as many classes, but you really need to be strategic with your time, and you want to have some work-life balance, but you also have tons of stuff that if you feel like you have all this free time, something is probably wrong. You need to figure out something instead to be doing.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree. I think this would be probably the best advice I would have is that I went to graduate school thinking like it was just college, and it was just an extension of that, and sort of approaching it the same way, which was sort of, okay, well, I had classes, and then between classes I felt like I had free time, and then just quickly discovered that there was always something I could be doing. And once I made a transition to thinking of school more like a job.
That's what I did too, that's really the key.
Yeah, it really changed for me, and I started going, even if I didn't have anything, I started going if I didn't have anything in the morning, I'd get there at 8 and I'd stay till 5, and I'd always fill in those cracks with work. So. Very good. So thank you very much, Kate. I appreciate it. Wanted to say quick that for those of you may have no idea what I'm talking about, and if you don't, check out the blog for the information about the PsychWord. But today's PsychWord is action. So there's a game, you should be playing it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out PsychWord on the blog, and you'll learn more. So, but today's word is action. Thank you very much. If you have questions, ideas, anything like that for future episodes, let us know.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.